Have we found the real father of Lily and Archie, or the real mother? What is going on? Because the documentation and the laws that I'm going to show you pertaining those two children.
We have spent years analyzing every interview, every photo, and every tear shed by the Sussexes. But while the world was focused on the drama in front of the cameras, a much darker story was reportedly unfolding in the shadows. There is a name that was never supposed to be spoken, a set of initials that were allegedly buried under layers of ironclad NDAs and sealed court files. They call her DL, and for years, she has been nothing more than a ghost in the royal machine. But ghosts have a nasty habit of haunting the people who tried to erase them.
Why is the belly several shades browner than anywhere else? It's not supposed to be browner. Skin, when it stretches, gets lighter. It doesn't get darker. Pregnant with either of Harry's children. If she's so concerned about that, why doesn't she simply do what every other royal woman has always done and issue the proof that she produced those children?
Rumors are now swirling that DL is done hiding. We aren't talking about vague tabloid gossip anymore. We are talking about a woman who claims to have the one thing the palace fears most: receipts. From clinic booking records to transport notes that defy the official timeline, the narrative is shifting from conspiracy theory to a potential constitutional crisis. If what is being said about the true parentage of Archie and Lilibet is true, we aren't just looking at a scandal. We are looking at the collapse of the entire Sussex house of cards.
In her podcast.
Said to me the other day when they were like, I just saw this picture I'd forgotten about when you were so pregnant with Archie. I mean, I gained 65 pounds with both pregnancies.
Oh my God, you're so...
To understand why this story is gaining so much traction right now, we have to go back to the visual evidence that started it all. For years, observers have pointed out inconsistencies that just didn't add up, but they were dismissed as haters. Now, those inconsistencies are being viewed through a very different lens. When a woman carries a child, her body changes, not just her belly, but her face, her ankles, her entire physiology. It's a biological reality.
Your tiny little ankles are bracing themselves in these high heels, but all of my weight was in the front.
Right.
So you're just going, how on earth? Like people,
how on earth?
How on earth am I not just tipping, face planting? It's like I'm always clinging.
Yet, we saw images of Meghan in high heels, squatting down with a level of agility that baffled mothers around the world. There were reports pointing out that her belly appeared to be several shades browner than the rest of her skin. Biology dictates that when skin stretches during pregnancy, it becomes lighter and taut, not darker. Then there was the weight distribution. Critics have long noted that while the belly grew, the arms, the face, and the legs remained stick-thin. There was no swelling, no water retention, none of the telltale signs of a third trimester. It looked less like a biological process and more like a theatrical performance. And while the public was debating moon bumps, rumors suggest the real mother was miles away, recovering from the actual labor.
History going on, Lady Colin Campbell?
Well, of course, Dan, we're all dumb and blind. And nobody has ever seen Meghan at supposedly 8 months going down on her horn.
But visual speculation is one thing, legal documentation is another. And this is where the story takes a turn into legal territory that should make everyone nervous. There was a quiet, almost unnoticed change made to Archie's birth certificate that has baffled legal experts for years. Roughly 11 days after the birth, the name Rachel Meghan was scrubbed from the document, leaving only Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex.
5 or 6 inch heels and bouncing back up without any help from Harry, who's standing.
The palace dismissed this as a clerical change or a dictate from higher ups. But let's be real, clerical errors don't usually involve completely removing a mother's legal first names. In the world of family law, the birth certificate is the primary document that establishes parental rights. Removing your name from it is unheard of, unless there is a specific legal maneuvering taking place to close a loophole. Speculation is now mounting that this wasn't about style, it was about covering tracks. If a surrogate DL was the one who actually delivered the child, the initial paperwork would be a minefield. This change looks less like a correction and more like a frantic attempt to align a legal document with a public narrative that was falling apart.
Secretly erases her first names from Archie's birth certificate. Rachel Meghan was taken out to leave just Her Royal Highness.
So, who is DL? According to the whispers coming out of legal circles, she isn't just a random donor. She is a woman who was allegedly brought into an arrangement that felt more like a covert military operation than a surrogacy. The rumors suggest that the clinic involved operated like a bank vault. No names were used, only initials. Doctors were rotated, so no single person saw the whole picture. It was a sterile, cold environment designed for one thing: plausible deniability.
Duchess of Sussex. And what they basically did is that they added at the bottom of the birth certificate, there's a space. It says in space 4, His Royal Highness Henry Charles Albert David, Duke of Sussex, corrected to His Royal Highness.
The narrative being put forward now is that DL went through the nausea, the kicks, and the labor, expecting a degree of dignity and gratitude. Instead, reports claim she was treated like a loose end that needed to be tied off. The alleged arrangement was supposed to come with financial security and post-birth care. But according to these new claims, once the baby was handed over, the warmth evaporated. She was allegedly erased from the story with a ruthlessness that left her stunned. No final settlement, no medical follow-up, just a silence that was enforced by threats. But silence bought with fear has an expiration date. And it seems DL's fear has turned into something much more dangerous: the desire for revenge.
And also she definitely did not gain 65 pounds. First of all, in the first pregnancy.
If you look closely at the official timeline of the births, cracks begin to appear that are wide enough to drive a truck through. We all remember the announcement, Meghan allegedly going into labor, and then, mere minutes later, the confirmation that the baby was born. It was a whirlwind that left the press pack dizzied. But DL's version of events paints a completely different picture, one that explains the chaos.
Henry Charles Albert David, Duke of Sussex. In space 7, Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex, corrected to Her Royal Highness.
The allegation is that the child was actually born weeks before the public announcement. DL claims she delivered Archie quietly, potentially in Colorado or a discreet location in California, far away from the prying eyes of the British press. This would explain why there were no doctors on the steps, no hospital staff interviews, and no signatures from the attending physicians released to the public. The 48-hour post-birth photo call where Meghan appeared in white, looking camera-ready, wasn't a miraculous recovery. If these reports are true, it was a staged event with a baby that was already weeks old. The timeline didn't just drift. It was allegedly manufactured to hide the gap between the surrogate's delivery and the Duchess's debut.
She only gained weight after the birth, because up to the birth, there's not a photograph of her.
Now, you might be asking, why does this matter? Surrogacy is common. And you'd be right, for normal citizens, but for the British royal family, this is a constitutional landmine. The line of succession is governed by rigid, centuries-old laws. A child in line for the throne must be of the body of the spouse. If a child is born via surrogacy, legally, they may not have a claim to the title or the throne unless specific protocols are followed, protocols that require transparency, not secrecy.
She removed her names. That was done about 11 days after the baby was born. And that is incredibly shady because
if DL comes forward with proof that she is the biological mother or the gestational carrier, and if it is proven that this was hidden from Parliament and the sovereign, we are looking at a deception that touches the very foundation of the monarchy. It stops being a celebrity scandal and becomes a matter of state. Sources say palace aides are terrified not of the gossip, but of the precedent. If documents were falsified or U.S. birth certificates were used to bypass UK laws, it could trigger a review of titles and status that the royal family has spent decades trying to avoid. This is the nuclear option, and the trigger is allegedly in DL's hands.
In the second supposed pregnancy,
or Megnancy, as you like to call it, Lady C.
While the legal team scramble, the toll this is taking on Prince Harry is reportedly becoming impossible to hide. Friends who have stuck by him describe a man who is cracked. The narrative of the happy, liberated prince is crumbling. He is allegedly not sleeping, pacing the halls of their Montecito mansion until sunrise, and checking the internet obsessively.
All of the other royal birth certificates of all other royal babies, even the queens, they have her names on it. But Meghan Markle...
It's said that Harry isn't panicking about the fact of surrogacy itself. He's panicking about the lie. He wanted to protect his family, to keep them safe from the intrusion he hates so much. But in building a fortress of secrets, he may have trapped himself inside. The guilt of the erasure of the DL situation is reportedly eating him alive. He knows that if this story breaks, he won't be seen as a protector. He will be seen as a participant in a massive deception against his own people. He looks, as one insider brutally put it, like a man waiting for a bomb to go off a bomb he helped plant.
It's like Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. This will bring to a couple of things that I'm going to talk about very shortly, because now we're going to Lily and things are about to kick up a notch. In July 2020.
And what about Meghan? Her reaction has been notably different. We are used to Meghan controlling the narrative, the podcasts, the interviews, the constant PR push. But recently, silence. Thick, heavy, calculated silence. She has seemingly retreated from the limelight, and insiders suggest this isn't a break, it's a bunker.
A lot of people assumed that that's them. She looks like a rice picker. I'm sorry. No offense. I feel bad because that's a rice picking hat. I know because but anyways. So they were spotted outside of the clinic and she came out with a little
The word from Hollywood is that this silence is strategic. She isn't speaking because she is allegedly meeting with lawyers, reviewing every NDA, and looking for loopholes in DL's potential testimony. It's a survival tactic. She knows that her brand is built on authenticity and truth-telling. If she is exposed as having orchestrated a years-long cover-up regarding her own children, the brand is dead. The silence isn't peace. It's the quiet before the storm. She is reportedly terrified that the clerical errors and the timeline glitches are about to be exposed as deliberate acts of erasure.
The whole thing is a dental appointment. This would have been around the time that she had the alleged miscarriage, guys. So you know. A lot of people assume that that was because of her teeth.
We are standing on the precipice of what could be the biggest royal revelation of the modern era. DL is reportedly no longer just a loose end. She is an organized, legally prepared woman who feels she was robbed of her history. She isn't asking for money anymore. She allegedly wants her name back on the record.
So the place where they were, there was a fertility clinic also. And this is just my opinion. Everything is always on July 1st. She lost her child on July 1st.
If she releases the clinic logs, the transport receipts, and the original documents she claims to have saved, the carefully curated story of the Sussex family will shatter. The palace is watching, Harry is unraveling, and the world is waiting. The truth has a funny way of coming out, especially when you try to bury it under a mountain of paperwork. And for the Sussexes, it looks like the digging has just begun.